Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you been doing? It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been podcasting. So, how have you been since our little break?
Yeah, it has been a while. I think it's actually been like just slightly over a month now. Um, yeah, time kind of flies by. Um, we're practically nearing that. Well, not necessarily nearing that actual end of summer via like the summer solstice calendar, but like um when you reach towards like no September, it just feels like it's about to be over. I feel like definitely went by pretty fast. But overall I've been doing good, I'd say. Last month I was a little bit busy with like several things, whether it was like work related, personal life, all that, you name it. But overall been pulling through, and off season is practically in a way maybe like halfway done, shall we say, even though if because like technically off season starts like the end of June, and then preseason starts the beginning of October, so kind of like in between here and there in a way. But yeah, overall I've been hanging in there. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. As we mentioned before the break, I went on vacation. I went to Guatemala, and it was a very well needed vacation. Like, it was actually one of the best vacations I've had, just because like we got to travel like the entire country. We saw some cool pyramids. My favorite part of the trip was when we went to this uh, river called Rio Dulce, and we stayed there. I got to fish for the first time, only using a hook and string. I would throw it in, and I caught a couple of fish like that, which was really cool. I felt like a caveman. It was my like inner man came out that day. It was really cool. I have a lot of family over there, so hung out with them. It was a cool time. Really needed a very long uh, stay too, though. Like, it's I love Guatemala, but it's not the USA. Like, I'm so used to living here that like 3 weeks over there is a bit much, but it was fun nevertheless. And during that stretch of time was Olympics. The Olympic season was going on. I believe USA ended up winning the most medals by like a landslide. If we count total medals, I think we ended up tying with China for gold, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So in terms of gold medals, we tied China, and then for the overall medals, we practically won by a
USA,
landslide.
USA, USA.
Yeah,
So that was cool. Guatemala actually won their first gold medal, which was really cool. It was a shooting event. So
congrats.
thanks. I think we won a gold and a bronze this year, which was pretty cool. Both in like two different like shooting events. So that's cool.
Nice. So I just pulled out the medal count. So US and China were tied at 40 gold medals each, and then behind them for third was Japan with 20. So definitely those two countries was a major leap over all other countries. And as a Chinese American myself, I'm pretty proud of the
You
two
gotta feel
countries.
good, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Um, Me growing up in the U.S. definitely more on the U.S. side, but I got love for my parents and my culture's homeland country as well. So pretty cool that my two cultures were the top two in the medal count. Um, yeah. So going on that though, overall medals total, the U.S. was first, was 126. China was second, was 91, and then Japan had 45. So actually, fourth. So to have a little bit more of a complete overview, first place was U.S., second was China, third was Japan, fourth was Australia, and fifth was France. And in terms of total count, um, France actually had more than. So actually, France had 64 total, Australia had 53 total, and Japan had 45 total. So if you're talking about like total, then the count is a little bit misleading there because in terms of gold medals, Japan had 20, Australia had 18, and France had 16. So like in terms of like the medal count goes, I think like definitely they do need like rank it rightfully so by the value of the medal won, shall we say, like gold medals being the more important. But then of course like towards the end, if it's like that neck and neck, like the US and China, then you gotta count the cumulative. But yeah, I was gonna say like it would be funny if like one country had the most number of medals, but they were all bronze. That wouldn't necessarily be
Uh,
the most um biggest bragging rights per se, but
yeah, I don't know how I would feel about that if
yeah,
I had so many bronze but no golds.
yeah, that wouldn't necessarily be fun. But
Right.
anyhow, U.S. point blank was the commanding lead, and a lot of other countries put up some respectable fights. I will say,
True. True. But speaking
yeah.
of gold, well, the point of this um, episode is talking about the Team USA basketball 2 gold. We're gonna briefly go over the tournament, and at the end we will be talking about our predictions for the next Olympics, Olympics 2028. That's gonna be here in Los Angeles, which should be exciting. Hopefully
Really
we
exciting.
could attend. Like that'd be cool. I'm sure it's gonna be
Oh,
expensive, but like we
yeah.
should try at least. Who
Oh,
knows?
definitely. I would love to, for sure, attend an event. In our home, well, in our home state and practically hometown because we're like
Yeah, we live
not
pretty
really
near.
pretty near. Yeah. Um, I feel like it's pretty much like a must attend situation, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, obviously, finances playing factor and whatnot, but I'm sure we'll work our way around it. I mean,
we'll get our
we don't
money
really,
up.
yeah, we will keep our money um, wisely spent so that way we will be able to invest in
Yeah,
those events.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
but that'll be
go.
fun. Though.
It would
Yeah,
be. It would be. So
yeah.
we'll predict the lineups for that Olympics because we had some older stars carrying the way this year, and they're most likely not going to be there. So we'll predict who. We'll try to predict who will be there. But before we do that, let's get into some USA basketball talk. Um, Starting with the group stages. Well, off the top of your head, do you remember all the countries that were participating in this year's basketball event for the Olympics?
Not off the top of my head, I don't remember every team, but I could pull it up real quick. Um, so let's see. Or yeah, I can go to the standings. That would be an easier way to look at it. Okay, so Group A was Canada, Australia, Greece, Spain. Group B was Germany, France, Brazil, Japan. And Group C was USA, Serbia, South Sudan, and Puerto Rico. So a total of 12 teams in four in each in three groups for each. Um, I don't know. I think I may have heard that maybe they lowered the count of teams from like previous Olympics. I don't know how like many it used to be before, but that might have been the case. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, pretty much as we know how it goes is before the Olympics starts, they did the exhibition games. Um, I think like in several different places. Like US had the exhibitions in Las Vegas. I believe they might have had a game in London too, or somewhere like that. And then came the Paris Rio Olympic Games. Anyhow, I think what we can do is we can start by, I guess, quickly mentioning a little bit about the prelim round. And reason why I say quickly is because, quite honestly, the games were not really that close for USA. So just a quick little overview in the prelim round against in the group stages. USA pretty much commandingly beat everyone. Um, they beat on Serbia, South Sudan, and Puerto Rico pretty handily, so no sweat at all whatsoever.
I do remember South Sudan put up a good fight though. Like they definitely surprised the world with their performance. With
Yeah,
what's his name? Like Wendell Gabriel, the former Laker.
when Wenyan Gabriel,
Wenyan
yeah, shout
Gabriel
out.
leading the way. Shout out to him. Shout out to South Sudan too because they put up a tougher fight than everybody expected against Team USA. But
Yeah,
obviously,
I mean,
Team USA was gonna win.
yeah, especially the exhibition game when they damn near beat us. We only beat them by 1 point.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right.
and then the actual game, we kind of like beat them a little bit more handily, but it was still honestly closer to the box score. South Sudan did get put up a really good fight. A team that many people looked at as probably assuming to be the worst team in the Olympics at the start, giving USA that big of a fight was honestly really respectable. So shout out to them and shout out to Laker legend Wenyan Gabriel.
Wenyan Gabriel, shout out to him. You said that South Sudan was most likely on the lower tier of the teams. Which countries did
I
you
would say
believe
so.
had a chance to beat Team USA for gold before the Olympics started?
I will say this. Before the Olympics started, I was thinking that Canada will be the biggest challengers just because they have so many NBA players on that roster. Like the majority of their roster are fulfilled with NBA players. I think maybe like only, if I'm not mistaken, maybe two or three players on the roster were non NBA players. Like that's a pretty damn good roster. And then aside from
They also have Shea
Canada,
too.
yeah, Shea, a lot of pretty really good NBA players on that roster. Jamal Murray, Lou Dort.
Dylan
They have
Brooks,
Dylan Brooks also,
Debo.
RJ Barrett. Yeah. Nikhil Alexander Walker.
A lot of great
List goes on.
names.
Andrew Nembhard. Yeah. A lot of guys on that list. And then aside from Canada, I thought that Germany was also going to be another challenger.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think Germany won the FIBA last year,
Yeah, they
if
did.
I'm
They
not mistaken.
did.
Yeah. So many people thought them. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Tice,
The
probably
Wagner brothers.
Mo Wagner and Marie. Yeah, and Franz, the two Wagner brothers. Um, maybe a few. Oh, I think Isaac Bonga is on that team. Remember Isaac Bonga, former Laker?
Nope. But shout out
Oh,
to
you don't remember him?
I know. I'm sorry.
He, yeah, he was a part of the technically AD trade because they did like a three-team trade,
Was he
and
really?
yeah, no, because remember the AD trade turned out to be a 3-team trade because the Wizards got involved, so that the Lakers could like unload roster spots or something. So then they sent Mo Wagner, and Isaac Bonga, and a few other guys to Washington. Yeah, I thought they were going to be another challenger, and then if I were to pick a third team that I thought would be like the biggest challenger to the U.S., that's where like I had a little bit of initial doubts before the Olympics started. I probably would have said France just because of the twin towers they have, Wemby and Gobert. Um, but I just feel like initially I thought that really the real challengers were going to be Canada and Germany. And what do you know? U.S. did not have to play either of those teams when it counted. Obviously, they played against them in the exhibition, and they beat both of them. Both pretty close games. I believe U.S. beat Canada by 10 in Las Vegas, and against Germany, they barely won by like 4. So, really tight game. And honestly, those teams did look like the best teams, I think, for a bit of the Olympic run. But towards the end, obviously, they did get upset by France, both of them, which we can talk about a little bit more later in this episode. But yeah, sum up the point. Initially I believed that it was going to be Canada and Germany that were going to be the biggest challengers for the U.S. due to like NBA talent and I guess the way they play as a team really well.
Yeah, for me, definitely Canada was up there. Like I thought they were gonna have an amazing run, especially since they were able to get bronze last year by beating Team USA. I thought they had a chip on their shoulder. I although I respected Germany, I knew that they weren't slouches. I felt like the top three would have been Canada, France with the twin towers, Wemby and Gobert, and then Serbia because they have the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. Uh, Bogdan Bogdanovic is no slouch either. He showed out for his country. But yeah, for me it was those three, and the results were a little surprising at the end.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Definitely surprising, I will say. A few upsets, if you want to call it. Um, but I think that we can go on to the knockout stages now for Team USA. So knockout stages, first game was against Brazil and pretty dominant, commanding win there. So I feel like honestly, not too much needed to talk about. Pretty much, U.S. did their job of proving to the world why they were the heavy favorites, handily beating a team that they should, and moving on. So that set up the semifinals matchup with Serbia, who the U.S. had already played twice, actually, once in exhibition and once in the prelim round. And U.S. pretty much commandingly blew them out both of those previous 2 times. And looking at those, you thought probably this was going to be no different. Maybe another easy breeze win for U.S. over Serbia. However, it wasn't the case. Serbia came out this game with a much better fight, and they actually led the game for a good vast majority against the U.S. Matter of fact, Serbia went up by as much as 17 in the third, and U.S. was honestly not looking that good. They looked like they could have potentially like maybe been in trouble, but then came Steph to the rescue with some extra clutch threes. He made 9 threes total, going off for 36 points overall. And his last 3 was the biggest of all, which helped the U.S. gain the lead with just under 2.5 minutes left. Ultimately, U.S. was able to hold on and secure a very narrow 95-91 win.
that was a
So
crazy game.
it was a very crazy game. U.S. clearly did not play their best basketball for much of the game.
Uh huh.
and Serbia was looking really good. And credit to them, like they damn near pulled the upset.
And
Um,
this was after they had this like amazing comeback win against Australia. Like they were close to not being able to face Team USA, but they were
yeah,
able to beat Giddy and the Australians over there. And then seeing how close they were to beating Team USA when they have Jokic, Bogdanovic, and a bunch of no names is very, very impressive.
yeah. I saw a funny meme for like US versus Serbia. It's like one MVP versus four MVPs. What do you expect? Like it was a funny meme. It was like a Jokic. They used a picture of like I guess Jokic confused on a foul call for that image, and it was like, what do you expect from me? I play against four MVPs. Like, yeah, honestly, very respectable effort by Serbia,
For
especially
sure.
knowing that they damn well could have not even appeared there had they not come back to beat Australia.
And I
On top of that,
remember uh, this game was going on when I was traveling back to the U.S. So
yeah,
we had a layover flight. So we actually went to El Salvador first, and in Guatemala, Serbia were winning. They were winning by a lot. And then when we landed to El Salvador, that's when I found out the U.S. won somehow. Like out of nowhere, like I was so confused because Serbia was dominating, but no,
yeah,
the
they were.
Avengers came through, and Steph and Bede had a good game, I believe. Like that was one of his like few good moments in
Yeah,
during
I will
this
say
run.
this though. Yeah, I will say this though. Embiid did have a really good game. He did have a little bit of mishaps on defense though, like allowing guys to get past right past him for some easy shots and whatnot. So not necessarily to discredit him, but just had to point out he had some bad plays also that could have potentially cost them the game. But because they won, no worries. Anyway, yeah, US needed every bit of contribution from the key guys, especially Steph's threes were so huge. Um, I believe LeBron had a relatively good game too, like a little bit less than the other explosive games, but he still did respectable. And then KD made a few huge shots also. So US was able to find a way to escape that one in a pretty scary game, which then set them up for the championship game against France. And speaking of France, as mentioned earlier, they had a really impressive run to the finals, which they beat two teams that I thought were going to be US's biggest challengers, being Canada and Germany. Um, And I heard that there was potentially a little bit of controversy in some of those games. I believe, particularly the France versus Germany game, there were people that were saying that they thought that the officiating wasn't very good and that the refs were kind of like trying to script it so that France will go to the championship game.
Yeah,
And
I've seen some of that. It happened in the preliminary games too. France versus Japan. They called two techs on Rui for like
I,
no reason.
I saw that. Like, what did he even do?
It
Nothing.
was like a common foul, and they
Yeah,
gave him two techs throughout the game, and he was cooking too. Like he had like
yeah.
25 points in like a few amount of minutes or something like that. But France ended up winning that game. They ended up winning against Canada and Germany. Canada though, like Jamal Murray was a huge disappointment. Like that,
Yeah,
it's almost like on him at that point because you're supposed to be the second guy on that team, but now everybody's kind of realizing that he's low key a Jokic merchant. Like he's only successful with Jokic. Um, but Yeah, it was a very disappointing run from him, especially since this was like his first time being with Team Canada. We expected big things from him because he is like an all-star caliber player, and he
Yeah,
like I don't think he averaged more than double-digit points. Like he was disappointing. It was like basically Shea trying to carry his team once again, similar to like the OKC run this playoff season.
yeah. So definitely disappointing there by Jamal for Canada, and maybe a little bit of questionable officiating in favor of France being the hosts of the Olympics. But overall, they did play good basketball, so not really to discredit them there. Um, also, to just like a little side note, this happened to be the first time that the men's and women's basketball championship happened to be the same matchup. Obviously, the men's was USA versus France, and the women's was also USA versus France. And shout out to the women's team for also getting the job done there.
I believe
That was,
Diana has
oh my,
6 gold medals for the Olympics now.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
impressive. The longevity is
Diana,
crazy.
the arguably the go right there.
Yeah.
Um, 6 Olympic medals, not too shabby. Um, the women's team, though, I'm not sure if you saw it ending, but they had a scare there. What happened was U.S. was up by 3, um, and then France had like a fast break opportunity, tried to tie it to force overtime, but the girl on France, Gabby Williams, her foot was on the line, like a Kevin Durant moment.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so heartbreaking fashion loss for France. Super
That gotta
fortunate for US.
suck.
Yeah, they won by 1 point in a very, very close upset. Um, but shout out to the women's team for getting the job done. Somehow, some way. Anyhow, yeah. Nonetheless, to say the championship games for both men's and women's was not to be disappointed. But now to go into the championship game between USA and France for USA men's basketball. Um, Obviously, we just mentioned how France had a really impressive run, beating Canada and Germany previously in the knockout stages. And was a little bit of controversy, but not to discredit them. But in the championship game, US came out much more ready than they did versus Serbia, as they were able to build a little bit of a lead in the third quarter. The US went up by double digits for a little bit, but France just wouldn't go away. France got it to within 3 points with just under 3 minutes to play. And from there, the US just took control. And once again, in large part due to Steph coming to the rescue with his amazing 3 point shooting. Another lights out shooting performance from Steph, this time making 8 threes, coming off 9-3 performance versus Serbia. And one of them was a crazy 3 to seal the game. At the end, the US was able to pull away and win 98-87 in a super entertaining championship game finish. And I gotta give my hats off to France for a very impressive run and very respectable silver medal. Obviously, I'm sure they definitely would have liked France to win the gold because they were the hosts. But like a silver, not bad, especially knowing that US was the clear favorites. And I gotta say, that one guy on France, what was his name again?
I don't know his name, but
Yo,
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, Gershon Yabusele. That guy
He's a
was
monster.
all in. Yeah. NBA teams definitely need to take a look at this
Yeah,
guy
they
because
need
he
to.
deserves it.
talented guy.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Also, they obviously, as we mentioned, they have some really good NBA players on their roster. Also, Twin Towers, Wemby and Rudy Gobert, um, Nicholas Batum on the roster. Also,
Evan Fournier.
yeah, Evan Fournier, Frank Nidalinka, which a little bit of a draft bust there, but
Yeah.
also NBA. Yeah, former San Antonio Spur Nando De Colo. Not sure if you remember him, but
No.
he only played one season, I believe, 2012, 2013.
One season that. Wow.
Yeah, and unfortunately did not win the championship. That was the year they lost against the Heat.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I believe the last NBA player to mention is Bilal Koulibaly from the Wizards. Probably said his last name wrong, but yeah, a good amount of NBA talent on
Mm-hmm.
France and
Yeah,
had a pretty good run, I will say.
they did.
Um, is there anything else you would like to mention about the championship game before we potentially talk about like some other topics in relation to Olympics in general?
I did want to mention how like that Steph shot was so cool. I was
Oh yeah.
kicking crab with my sister and our friend Alex, and they were playing the game while we were there. Have you tried kicking crab?
Oh, kicking crab. I don't recall if I
It's
had it.
it's
Like,
near BBQ Chicken,
oh yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
same shopping
I,
center.
I I know the place you're talking about,
It's
but
really
I
good.
don't recall if I ate there though. I've been to I've been to some other seafood boil spot. It might have been like boiling crab or something, like similar name but
Uh
a
huh.
little different.
Yeah, I'm usually
Yeah,
not a seafood guy, but I had the shrimp and it's good. But
nice.
yeah, they were playing the game on like their very small screens, and when Steph hit that shot, I audibly yelled so loud. I was like, "No way!" I kind of scared my sisters, but it was such
Yeah,
a cool shot. So yeah, shout out to
for sure.
Steph. Shout out to Team USA. Shout out to France for getting silver, and Serbia for being Germany for bronze. Jokic looked so happy with his bronze medal. Like
Yeah,
I've never seen him so happy. Like he
yeah.
was.
It's funny. He looked like much happier winning bronze with Serbia than he did winning the NBA championship with the Nuggets last year. I guess he's just that passionate for his own country.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I also
yeah.
I didn't remember that he won silver in the last Olympics. I,
I actually don't remember that either.
I totally forgot, but
I forgot.
he has a silver and a bronze medal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he did not play in 20. He did not play in Tokyo, right? He played the 2016 Olympics. Is that correct?
Oh, you might be right because he looked very young.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Because I believe US played against France also in the Tokyo Olympics.
Oh, they
And
did.
yeah, and I know that like a lot of the superstars didn't really participate in Tokyo because so many reasons. Obviously, coming off that shortened season after the COVID year, a lot
Uh
of
huh.
players were just completely drained, so they just didn't really want to go. So obviously, like even Team USA, their roster wasn't quite like as firepowered as like a lot of
Yeah, it
at
looked
times it should
weaker.
be. Yeah, I mean like some of the players they had on that team were like Jeremy Grant, the center
Jeremy
JaVale
Grant.
McGee. Shout out to JaVale McGee, by the way.
Yeah,
But like,
I think his mom is an Olympian, like a gold
yeah,
medalist. I
I think
think.
they're like the first mother and son to be Olympians for Team USA basketball or something. Gold, which
Oh,
is pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, and then I believe they're also the they might have also been the first WNBA and NBA mother and son champs too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I believe his JaVale's sister also got drafted to the WNBA last year, maybe. But that's pretty cool. So now his mom, him, and his sister all went pro in professional basketball.
I thought his
So
sister was like a pro volleyball player, or maybe she was at one point. I don't remember. I might be mixing it up with
yeah,
someone
I
else.
don't. Yeah, I don't know if he has multiple sisters or
Oh,
not,
that could be
though.
true.
That could be true, but I guess nonetheless, a very athletic family
Yeah. A little
and
side note. A little
family
side note
champ.
about JaVale McGee. He visited Guatemala recently, and seeing him,
Oh, really?
yeah, weirdly enough, he went to like all the touristy places, and like he's so
That's cool.
tall compared to all the Guatemalans who like, you know how short I am. I'm like a taller Guatemalan. So imagine even shorter people right next to
Oh
a
man,
7 footer. Like it's a crazy sight to see. But yeah, my dad
damn.
was on Facebook showing me all the pictures. He's like, "Oh, look, this Lakers player with the Guatemala," and he was excited for it, and he's like not even
That's
like a
so
big
cool.
basketball guy. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But shout out to JaVale McGee,
Shout
though.
out to JaVale,
Um,
legend.
champ, Olympics champ, Laker legend, Laker champ, you name it. Um, yeah. Nonetheless, yeah, that 2021 supposed to be 2020 Tokyo, but then they obviously delayed it
Uh
a
huh.
year due to COVID. But obviously, due to branding, kept the name Tokyo 2020. That team was weaker nonetheless, but somehow, some way, found a way to still win gold. So, shout out to them. Anyhow, yeah, going back to what we were originally saying, a lot of those NBA superstars just didn't really play in the 2021 Olympics. So I believe Jokic's last was in 2016. I believe that was in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. I think.
I don't remember.
But yeah, I do remember like that Team USA team in 2016 also was like they were not really as good as they should have been. Like they
Was
were
it
like
like
barely.
Harrison Barnes on the team?
Yeah. Harrison Barnes. Oh, I think like Kevin Durant is the only guy from that team that played this year. So like, and there's a good amount that are still active. Like for example, DeMar DeRozan, Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then there's some other guys that are now retired or not in the league, like DeMarcus Cousins, Carmelo Anthony. Um, Harrison Barnes was on that team. I believe Kyrie was on that team also. Um, yeah. Oh, Kyle Lowry was on that team too. I forget about that. Only reason why I know that is because I saw a picture the other day. It was like 2016 Olympic squad. Yeah, that team somehow find a way. But yeah, respect to Serbia, as mentioned. Really respectable bronze medal for them also,
Hmm.
knowing there were other teams that could have won it over them.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you mentioned, the bronze medal game against Germany, um, Serbia pretty much took command the entire game. Um, they they pretty much led the entire game, I believe, and at the end they were able to win by 10, I believe, and really cool stuff. And yeah, there was that when talking about like how happy Jokic was. I'm sure. Did you saw the video of Serbia's team on the team bus after they won the bronze?
Them singing
Yeah,
together.
yeah. So that was definitely where they were really happy. And even when they went on the podium for the ceremony, they also looked pretty happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like quite honestly, like for USA, anything but gold is a failure. But for those other countries, anything gold, silver, or bronze is a success.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, shout out to them. And USA, they were able to now win their fifth straight gold medal. Obviously, they had that um, epic failure in 2004 in Athens, Greece, when they finished bronze. That was embarrassing. There were a lot of key guys that didn't play that year. Obviously, like Kobe didn't go that year due to those issues that he went with that I'm not going to go in detail for. Um, I believe Jason Kidd. Actually, maybe Jason Kidd did participate, but I remember Shaq didn't. Shaq only played in one Olympics for whatever reason. I guess he just didn't really want to play in too many.
Yeah, I
Um,
never thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
yeah, kind of crazy looking back that Shaq only played in one.
That
But
team
yeah,
was interesting too. They had Tim Duncan, Richard Jefferson,
yeah,
Sean Marion, I believe
yeah.
Vince Carter. It was a very random
They
team.
did. Yeah, and quite honestly, like it was talented enough. They just didn't gel for whatever reason.
Yeah,
And
I heard it
I don't
was.
know if you ever,
Have you seen the the Redeem Team documentary?
I haven't fully seen it, but I seen clips though.
Yeah, apparently, like a big reason why like they got bronze was because of the coaching staff. They didn't really let the youngsters play. They didn't let
Oh,
young LeBron, Carmelo, Dwayne Wade. They didn't
I
give them the
heard.
minutes they deserved, and it ended up causing turmoil. So that was a big reason why. It's just the lack of chemistry. Shout out to
Yeah,
Manu Ginobili though, getting that goal
yeah,
for Argentina. That's so epic.
I know. Yeah, shout out to them for taking advantage of USA's dysfunction that year.
We
Um,
Scola
yeah,
también. Let's go.
yeah. Scola was on that team also. There was this other guy that played in the NBA for a little bit, Carlos Delfino. Aside from
Heard of
that,
him.
you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He played. I think he primarily played for the Bucks, and then he played like for the Rockets for a year. Yeah, he was like a good 3-point shooter, but nothing like crazy. And then, yeah, obviously, yeah, that I did hear about. And have you ever seen like the pictures or whatever of the medal ceremony that year and USA when they got their bronze medals? They did not look happy at all.
They look
They were,
destroyed.
yeah, they're like, damn, I can't believe this really happened to us. Yeah, I will say like it makes sense that they play a bronze medal game because they want to see who gets the bronze medal. But at the same time, it kind of feels in a way for those teams maybe a little bit of like a pointless like we're not gonna get gold anyway. But damn, we're just playing for settling for a lesser rank. But it is still cool to like get some medal of
Yeah.
sort. Yeah. So like depending on the situation, of course. Like USA, it's nothing impressive. Other countries that you mentioned, really impressive for any medal. Anyhow, I will say that overall, I thought that the basketball Olympics was pretty good entertainment. Obviously, the preliminary rounds were not necessarily competitive games for Team USA, so snooze fest there. But the elimination rounds, aside from the Brazil game, was good basketball. Um, Obviously, U.S. having to fight a sweat against both Serbia and France, and then those other teams, France having some major upsets and Serbia having some major upsets. Um, it was definitely a fun to see NBA players and non NBA players fight for their country to try to win for something bigger than their league basketball, like NBA, EuroLeague, China League, you name it. I don't know why I said China League, but I'm sure like some of those players from those countries do play in the China League, so maybe not necessarily irrelevant there, but nonetheless, pretty good stuff. Is there anything else you would like to mention about, I guess, the basketball games before we move on to our next segment?
Not the games, but I do want to mention a little bit of drama that happened. Just a little in regards to Jason Tatum. He did not get a lot of playing time during this run in the Olympics,
Yeah.
and a lot of Celtics fans are mad about that. A lot of NBA fans in general. I've seen several NBA like podcasters and fans upset that Jason Tatum did not get a lot of minutes, and Jason Tatum himself is very disappointed about that. He uh, posted a tweet from Vince Staples of all people. Big fan of Vince Staples. First of all, he's a great rapper. You
Yeah.
listen to him?
Not a lot, but I have listened to like some of his music a little bit.
He's cool. He's
Overall,
cool.
I like what I've heard.
But yeah, he posted on his story a Vince Staples tweet saying that we need to avenge Jason Tatum, like one of the most melodramatic tweets about Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And like,
So,
what are your
so do you
thoughts
know?
on that situation?
Yeah. I was gonna ask. Do you know, is Vince Staples a Celtics fan, or is he just a Tatum fan, or you think he's just trying to make Tatum feel better? Maybe the last one. I'm
Maybe the
thinking.
last one. Like he reps Cali. Like he's a California rapper.
Yeah.
Uh,
So makes
I
sense.
think he
I
might
mean,
be
he's from Compton, right? So
not Long Beach, but still like
Long Beach. Mm.
still around that area.
Yeah. Last year last year they made the White Men Can't Jump I guess remake with Jack Harlow, and I believe Vince Staples was in it. Did you
Yeah,
know that?
yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. But yeah, it was funny there. Nonetheless, quite honestly, like the whole entire Tatum situation, I obviously saw, as you did, a lot of NBA fans mad that he didn't get a lot of playing time. I certainly wasn't. I mean, us not being fans of him or the Celtics, it was great, honestly, seeing them finding a way to win without him. Anyhow, I feel like the one thing about Tatum is like, should he have gotten more minutes? Potentially here and there, maybe. But at the same time, like the US team was just like so stacked to the point where they just didn't need that much of like his contributions, to say the least. And the thing is, like, in certain points, they needed more of floor stretchers. Like, for example, Steph, KD, and even guys like LeBron who are able to facilitate like that. Tatum is just kind of like a redundant piece in that sake. So it's like, it's totally understandable why he was out of the rotation. And even Joel Embiid, like, he had a few better games towards the end, and particularly the Serbia game. But him being left out of the rotation a little bit also made sense, knowing the fact that he was overall pretty disappointing for a lot of the run. And then, of course, like AD and Bam doing their thing as a big man. But also another thing was, we talked about this the other day. Jason Tatum. So he was in a interview with Malika Andrews on ESPN, and I believe he said something about like how he would pick the Celtics against any team, including Team USA. Now, granted, he was set up to say something like that, knowing the question, but like, come on, man.
You gotta be
Like,
delusional if you actually believe that.
yeah, like that is a damn crazy comment. I mean, obviously the Celtics were a really good team this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, like, they really didn't have any like real competition on their way to the finals. And if you're gonna put yourself up against like Team USA, which is literally all stars, there's no way they would win that. Like, come on now. Um, anyhow, I feel like Tatum has just honestly been like way too damn cringe and like extra annoying ever since he won that championship. And it all started with those cringe celebrations after winning the title,
We
like
did
imitate.
it.
Yeah. Imitating Kobe, KG, Kanye, all those people. Steph also, I believe. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I'm sure Tatum, assuming that he will play in 2028, which I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll have a lot more playing time and contributions then. But this time around, it's just like it made sense why he didn't get as much playing time as he did. Like I don't see why he had to like be so whiny about it. Um,
Exactly. I think you used the perfect word to describe this, which is redundant. I think Jason Tatum was very redundant when it comes to the lineup because like the Team USA had KD and LeBron, like, and they were amazing throughout the entire Olympics. They were consistently really good. Like Jason Tatum was lucky that Kawhi got injured, honestly, or that he would have been
yeah,
like Halliburton and just never touched the floor at all. Uh,
exactly.
uh, but yeah, I feel like so the redundancy is part of the issue, and I believe the other issue is just that Jason Tatum, as good as he is, he's not elite in anything. He is not an elite uh, defender. He's not an elite 3 point shooter, mid range shooter, driver. Like the reason why someone like Drew Holiday and Derek White got minutes is because they are elite perimeter defenders, and Jason Tatum is a good defender. He's not elite though. He is a good mid range shooter. He's a good 3 point shooter. He's not elite though. Well, like, why would you put him in when we have specialists? We have a 3 point specialist, Stephen Curry, out there making 9 threes a game, which is crazy. Like, why would we put Jason Tatum in there when we have all these players that can mesh well together because they are elite in different categories? Kind of similar to why like Joel Embiid was benched for a few games because although he is debatably like on paper the best player on the team, uh, there were times he was benched because he couldn't defend the way that Bam and AD could defend. Like they're better on They're a lot better on switch defense than Embiid is. He's he's so big that he's a little slower on that end, so it's hard for him to like switch and do some perimeter defense the way that Bam and AD can. So it's all because of matchups, and it's all because of just the lack of eliteness, I guess is the word that I've been using the most. Um, but yeah, like seeing how LeBron was cooking, KD was cooking, Steph was cooking, why would you put Jason Tatum in there? Like, if it's working, don't fix it. Like, just
Exactly.
let them cook. Let them carry you to a gold medal the same way you had Jaylen Brown carry you to a championship. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. 1,000% agree. First off, and I will say like Tatum fanboys and Celtics fans come up with the most laughable and dumbest like argue points, shall we say. Like some people are saying that they think that the reason why Jason Tatum wasn't getting minutes is because that Steve Kerr is taking it personal on him because he's from the Celtics. Like, no, that's not the reason. The reason is everything we mentioned, how he's really just a redundant piece, shall we say. LeBron and KD doing their thing, and then needing floor spacers like Steph. There really just wasn't a point in putting him in a lot of times. So it has nothing to do with Steve Kerr bias or whatever. Like, people need to stop with all their excuses for sure.
But yeah, there's that. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I think that's everything I wanted to cover.
Yeah,
I have like a lot in my mind, but I think I got it all out.
yeah. I think we covered pretty much everything I have on my mind also as far as the overview of the 2024 Team USA Basketball Olympics. Um, I think maybe that would be a good segue for us to move to our next segment in predicting the 2020 Team USA Basketball roster.
2028. team.
Yeah, 2028. Okay, my bad there.
No worries,
Yeah,
no worries. But
2028 Team USA basketball predictions for Los Angeles 2028.
right, because there's gonna be spots open. The big three this year: Steph, KD, LeBron. They're most likely gonna age out. Most likely, like who
Most
knows?
likely.
Maybe Steph still got him. Still got
I
something
think
in the tank. Maybe KD, but they're gonna
yeah.
be kind of old by that time.
I I think what kind of shocked me a little bit in a way, I believe KD is the youngest. Well, so I knew LeBron was the
Yeah,
oldest.
yeah.
Um, I think that KD might actually be younger than Steph. And now that I think about it, it sounds crazy. But then now that I think back, like KD did enter the league before Steph did, because like Steph, I think he might have like played 4 years in college before entering the draft, versus like KD
Mm.
only spent 1 year, or maybe it was he yeah, he only spent 1 year at Texas. Yeah, KD is 35 and Steph is 36. So, like, they're definitely going to be at the very tail end by the time 2028 comes. So, there's some doubts on whether it could happen or not there. And obviously, LeBron, the level at how he's still performing really well, if he really wanted to, he definitely could be still playing by then. Like, I'm like the way he's playing now, if he wanted to, he could play 5 more years, I'm sure. But
Yeah,
the thing is, I don't think he wants to play that much longer. Realistically speaking, I think LeBron probably has like maybe 1 to 2 years remaining.
I
Like it
think
would
he mentioned that this was his
2 years,
last Olympics.
yeah, which makes sense honestly. Like as cool as it would be if he waited for Bryce to enter the league, he would just be like too old by then. Um, yeah. Anyhow,
Out of these three,
a
though,
few.
who do you think is most likely going to be in the Olympics if one of them had to be there?
I would say, I would say KD honestly, just because like he has been in so many already, and he definitely has nothing left to prove for Team USA basketball. But maybe he'd be like a little bit of like the Diana Taurasi trying to rack up as many gold medals as possible. Um, because like KD has already done so much for Team USA, the most points in the history. Um, I'm sure there are some other ones that for whatever reason I just can't remember at the moment.
Most medals, I
But
believe.
most medals, yeah. And then I think there might have been more, like stats wise, but I just can't remember what it was. But he has already accomplished so much, but he might be thinking, why not rack up more?
Right. Just
And
like cement himself as the men's Olympic basketball GOAT, essentially.
yep, that's a good way to call it. But yeah, I think that honestly, he would be the most likely
I
if
would
one
agree
of them
too.
were to
Yeah.
return.
I would say KD.
Yeah. Anyhow, shall we reveal our rosters?
Yeah, let's
Or
start with the starting five, just because it's easier.
starting?
I think mine is a little controversial. I feel like I have some weird picks, but
Yeah.
yeah, let's share them.
All right.
Right.
Give me 1 second just to so I will say a reason why I say is because I kind of like somewhat jumbled the position a little bit. So I
Uh
gotta like quick fix. Yeah. Um
I guess I'll share mine while you're fixing yours. So
yeah.
my point guard, my starting point guard is Tyrese Halliburton. Like since he's been a part of FIBA, he's been a part of this year's Olympics. I think he's gonna able to get some playing time now and start for the next Olympics. I got Anthony Edwards. I think he's gonna be the next best shooting guard in the league. Jason Tatum will finally shine now that KD and LeBron is not there, so I have him there. Paulo Banchero, I have a lot of high hopes for him. He was part of the FIBA team last year, so he's part of the program, and he had his moments last year, so I'm expecting him to be there. And then Anthony Davis, I still think he's going to be good enough to play for the next Olympics in 4 years. So look, that's
Okay.
my starting five: Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Paulo Banchero, and Anthony Davis. Who's in your top five? I see it right now, but like just so the people know.
Yeah. All right. Not bad. Definitely believe that all of these guys will for sure be in the next one. Anyhow, for me, point guard, I had John Morant, assuming that he will be out of trouble and healthy. Anthony Edwards, so we agree there. I actually do have Kevin Durant returning for the next Olympics.
What a bold pick! I like it.
Yeah, for sure. And though he will be old, I do think he will remain a starter. Just like due to respect, still being a legend, you name it. And at the four, I had Anthony Davis. At the five, I had Bam Adebayo. A little bit of controversy there because they say AD is better suited as a center, but I do know he prefers playing the four, so that could work too. But I could definitely see your argument for Tatum being in the starting lineup by then. I think that if KD is not in the Olympics anymore, then for sure Tatum will be the starter. But if he is, I would probably just say KD still starts, depending on his level of how great he's still playing by then. But I'm sure he'll still be good.
I don't think
And
he
then,
started most of the games in this Olympics though. Like they played very small this Olympics. There would be like
yeah,
Steph, Drew, and
I actually,
Devin Booker all starting alongside like Embiid and LeBron.
yeah, I actually forget about that to be honest. Maybe you do have a point there, but I guess I'll just stick with my word there. As far as Paulo goes, though, I definitely think he's gonna make the next roster, and it's possible he could be a starter. Um, but yeah, I kind of just put a few other guys in the, I guess, vet recognition role for being starters. Um, I believe from what I heard, Grant Hill, one of the main guys, I guess, like picks the players who make the team, said that like Paulo Banchero was very close to making Team USA, but ultimately there were just like a few factors that put a few other guys over the edge instead. Um, but yeah, I think that you put some good guys in your starting five, and for my starting five, I believe these guys will still be really good by 2028.
All right, so let's now reveal the rest of the team. Did you do a 15-man roster or a 12-man roster?
Um, shit. Now that I think about it,
We didn't
I
talk
think I
about it.
put,
Uh,
yeah, I think it's supposed to be 12,
I
right?
did 12.
But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
This year's was
I
12.
think I think I may have accidentally wrote 14, which is kind of a random number. Let me maybe quickly decide which two guys I want to get rid of, and at the end I can talk about like who those guys were that I originally had.
Yeah, at the end we'll share our like honorable mentions, people that were close to making it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but as you do that, I guess I'll share my crop of bench players. So I believe Tyrese Maxey is gonna be great in 4 years and will make it. Donovan Mitchell, who for some reason has not been playing in like the FIBA or Olympic
Yeah,
games, even though he's so talented, I believe he's gonna be there. Devin Booker, I feel like he's gonna have like a similar KD legacy. He's been to the Olympics before. He was amazing in this Olympics. As much as I don't like him, I gotta give credit where credit's due. So I genuinely believe Devin Booker will be back and killing it for the next Olympics. The next one is a maybe. Like I don't know if he will be there, but I, we need like another like perimeter like forward. So I have Jalen Brown. Even though he had a lot of beef with whoever runs the Olympics, like roster committee, he should be on the team by the next Olympics. I think. Um, Next, I have Jalen Williams. I think he has the potential to be a star. He already averages like 20 points a game for OKC, so I'm sure he's gonna be available for the Olympics. And then for my big men, I have Bam and Chet. I think Chet is gonna be a great addition to the team. Should I mention some of my honorable mentions, or should we share your list first?
I guess I can share my list first, and then we can both mention our honorable mentions.
Okay.
All right. So, now to fill the bench, I got Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brown, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, Paulo Banchero, Drew Holiday. Just put him on there due to how well he played the last two Olympics, and then a bonus actually. I put on Cooper Flag just because he was on the select team this year, and he did pretty good against the actual NBA
He was
players.
cooking.
Almost, yeah, damn near embarrassing the the team. Like, bro, won because of AD's game-saving block. AD saved that team from embarrassment there, man. But he would be the only guy that I mentioned that is not in the league yet because I'm obviously not knowing the prospects yet.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about Cooper Flag. I know a lot of people who've like talked about this topic have mentioned Cooper Flag. It's just the only reason why I didn't add him was because he's not in the NBA yet, so it's hard to
Yeah,
predict where his career is gonna go. Even though I'm sure he's gonna have a successful career playing in the NBA very soon, but
for sure.
yeah, that's the only reason why I didn't add him. But that's a great pick, Cooper Flag. Um, I will say your Joel Embiid pick is interesting because he has mentioned that he does kind of want to play for Cameroon next Olympics, which is weird how he's
Yeah,
like hopping and stuff. Like he got his
yeah. But
gold,
what
so now
was
he wants to
he?
move on.
Was he serious or was he joking? I thought he was joking, but he could be serious.
He could be like you never know. He said he was going to play for France, and look what happened. Like, we can't trust
Yeah,
this guy.
honestly, like if he does do that though, like I'm gonna say this. I think that he should have played for Cameroon from the jump.
Same.
Come on. But he's just jumping around because I guess he just really wants that medal. And now that he won it, I guess he's like in a way kind of pulling like a KD. Like I want to get my easy um hardware, shall we say, because like ring or medal, and then I'm gonna dip. And that's just an easy cop out. Like, come on, man.
It's more like a
But honestly,
LeBron situation. Like he left to the Heat and then came back home.
yeah. But at least he won
Yeah, he
without
did
going back
win.
home. If he leaves, he's not going to win a medal with any of those other countries. That's for damn sure. Um, anyhow, honestly, I didn't really think about that, but you have a point. And now that you mentioned that, I probably should have left him out this list. But I'll own up to my mistake though. But we can talk about the honorable mentions shortly, and I can say like who I would put instead. Now thinking that through.
Okay. Well, is there just just to briefly mention like our differences? I
Yeah.
noticed that you have Ja Morant, while I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just don't fully trust Ja enough to have him on the team. For the on
Yeah.
for the off the court stuff and the on court stuff, I don't know if
And I
his
understand
like he
that.
needs to develop like a 3-point shot if he wants to like play for the Olympics. I feel like we can't
Yeah.
have him holding the ball the whole time. So that's my thing. And then Drew Holiday, I feel like he would age out, but um, he's still like
Maybe.
it's a maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I I kind of try to question that also. Like, would Drew age out? It's possible. Ultimately, I just decided to keep him there due to the experience he has with Team USA now twice. But I could definitely see that possibility there too. Um, yeah. Any other initial thoughts about my roster before I guess I mentioned thoughts about your roster?
No, I think I covered everything from your roster. What do you think about my roster and the different picks? I guess.
Yeah, I will say to start, there were definitely a few guys that I considered and a few guys that I didn't really think of, quite frankly. And probably my bad on some of them, to be honest. To start, I definitely considered Tyrese Maxey for sure. Obviously, he is a really good up and coming young point guard, and he could definitely be there. Um, and I think that what you said about John Morant was valid. Like his off court issues, maturity, and lack of 3-point shooting could be a little bit of a concern there. Um, Ultimately, I guess when I picked him, I guess took the optimistic side. Like hopefully by then he does have his mind straight.
Yeah, he is
And
super talented though. Like just the small
yeah,
stretch of games that he had this past season, he showed that he is one
yeah,
of the best point guards. I just don't like he relies so much on his athleticism, and we all know that when you age, that will go away. That I feel like he
hmm
really needs to develop that 3-point shot or any like mid range game, because again the athleticism's gonna go away, and he can't be dunking on everybody in 4 years like the way he
right,
does now. So that's my
yeah,
basketball take on him. And I don't
hmm
know if any of the gun stuff is gonna be relevant by then. So hopefully not. Hopefully he
hopefully,
gets a chance. Honestly,
yeah, um, yeah. Though honestly, those concerns are valid, and I do think that Tyrese Maxey could have a chance to make it. So not mad at that take because I definitely considered putting Tyrese on my list. Um, Donovan Mitchell, I think he definitely has potential to make it also. But as you mentioned earlier, for some reason he just has like seemingly not really ever been considered in a way. And maybe that's because like Team USA just like too stacked, too many good players, so there wasn't room for him. But we'll see what happens. I mean, like assuming that if KD also is not playing, assuming that also Steph and LeBron are not on that team anymore, that could potentially maybe open up a spot for him or other guys. Um, but yeah, I think that Donovan Mitchell should at least have some consideration for possibly making it because we all know his um, scoring burst that he could go on and literally putting the Cavs or Jazz in the past on his back when the rest of the team maybe wasn't doing much. So definitely someone to consider there, Donovan Mitchell. Um, Jalen Williams, aka J Dub. Um, I honestly didn't even think about him when doing this list, but I actually like this like low key sneaky good pick here you put. Um, Definitely could be possible. I mean, there are certain guys that like from time to time make the list that you don't expect really. I mean, you look at this year's list when Kawhi went down, who would have thought they would pick Derek White? You'd think they would pick like Jalen Brown first, if anything. And obviously, we all know the controversy that came there, but it's possible. J Dub could definitely be a potential candidate to make this list too. potentially should surprise people. Or maybe by then he'll be so good that it wouldn't surprise people. Never know there. And then Chet, I don't know why I didn't think about him initially when making this list, but that's a damn good pick you made there. And actually, after thinking about the whole entire Joel Embiid situation, I think I would honestly replace Joel with Chet. Now that I think about it, because like if Joel is not going to play for Team USA, they will need another big to fill the void. I think Chet would be the perfect guy because of his size, his dominance of blocking shots and rebounding. And I think that would certainly obviously help them in their matchup against France. Obviously, him and Wemby having those really good matchups. Obviously,
Exactly.
Wemby, yeah, like obviously Wemby is still better, but
Hmm.
Chet is like farce slouch. And I think that it would definitely be very helpful. So yeah, honestly, like if I were to have a do over, the main thing I would do would be replacing Embiid with Chet. Um, Now I believe that's pretty much all I have to talk about your roster differences from mine. Overall, I think you made some good names listed. Um, I guess what we can do now maybe is talk about honorable mentions.
Okay.
Um,
I will.
I guess you can start. Yeah.
Uh, I will say John Morant. Like, although I talked about my issues with him and how his game will age, I definitely was thinking about him. Uh, to add onto the roster. Also, Cooper Flag. Like, I was thinking about him too. But I feel like my biggest cut is Scotty Barnes. I feel like without LeBron and Kevin Durant, we're gonna be missing a versatile small forward, similar to them, and I feel like Scotty Barnes will fill that role perfectly. Like he's developed a good offensive game. We know he can play defense. We know that um, he could be a decent rebounder at times. He's also a decent playmaker as well. So I feel like he could do a lot of the things that like LeBron do, but like diet size. Obviously, like he's not LeBron, but he's like diet LeBron. I feel like I think Scotty Barnes has the tools in order to play very similar to LeBron. Not saying he's gonna be the next LeBron, obviously, but I feel like he's talented enough to have a similar skill set as him. So that was probably like my biggest cut, even though I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Scotty Barnes being in the future Olympic team, but I think he's really, really talented. So I guess those three were my biggest uh, cuts: John Morant, Cooper Flag, and Scotty Barnes. What about you?
Not bad. Not bad, I will say. You listed some good candidates there. Not that, not gonna lie, I didn't really think about Scotty Barnes that much, but he would be a good bold. I think he would be a good option, honestly. Like what you mentioned about potentially if LeBron and KD are both not on the team by then, he would be a really good void to fill. Obviously, a pretty good comeback season he had last year after a relatively disappointing sophomore year. Definitely, Scotty Barnes could be a sneaky good ad for that team. Anyhow, if I were to mention my honorable mentions, I think that, as mentioned earlier, Tyrese Maxey for sure, a guy that I highly considered adding on the team earlier. Um, Honestly, another guy that I considered adding, but ultimately didn't due to, I guess, too many other guys or like too much depth there. I thought about potentially mentioning Jalen Brunson. Um, I believe,
That's another guy as well. I forgot. I did cut him. I
yeah,
was thinking about it, but I did end up cutting Jalen Brunson. That's a good pick. Yeah.
yeah. Jalen Brunson played for Team USA in FIBA last year, right? If I'm not mistaken. And
Correct. I think he had like an up and down. Uh, what's the word? Like tournament, I guess. Like he had his high moments, but he also had his lows.
yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah, I I definitely thought about putting him on this list. Ultimately, I didn't because, as mentioned, too much guard depth. You name it, but I think he could potentially be like an honorable mention. Obviously, he pretty much had a breakout season this year. Did really good really since becoming the number one option, leaving for the Knicks. Um, so I had to put him as a possible honorable mention there. And then if I were to try to think of any other honorable mentions, um, that honestly, so initially when I was thinking about like guys, I was thinking about like Dame, for example. But then I thought like he's gonna be old by then, so I don't know if I would pick him honestly. Um, I would say honestly, if I were to say like another like honorable mention, that would be well, obviously I mentioned Chat already that like I would pick him if I did a do over, so I won't count him as my official honorable mention there. Um, I would say Donovan Mitchell for sure, good honorable mention, as you said. Um, he can go on like crazy scoring bursts, and he hasn't really even been considered for Team USA. Is really crazy, honestly. Definitely deserves more respect there, and obviously, like there's gonna be a lot of new young guys by then that probably we don't really know about right now. So something to look into there. But definitely gonna be a interesting, I guess, roster picking by 2028. And I'm sure there's gonna be some tough decisions to be made too.
Most definitely. Um,
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to mention before we end things off? Because I think I'm good.
Honestly, I think I'm good too. Pretty much mentioned everything. Um, overall, I will say a pretty good and competitive Olympic run for the Olympics basketball. And 2028 shall be interesting also and very exciting that it was going to be in our home state, LA, and definitely really looking forward to it. Until then, I guess as far as like international basketball, it'll have to be settling for FIBA, but not usually as exciting, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll see. But I guess that's our Olympic rundown. I hope you all enjoyed. We covered a lot, but I think we did a good job focusing on Team USA's gold medal and looking forward to the future of Team USA basketball. So, shout out to our fellow Americans. Let's go. Let's go. USA, USA, USA.
USA, USA.
But yeah, I think that's it from us. Hope you all enjoyed. I hope you guys liked the podcast. If you liked it, leave any comments down below. That'd be great. Subscribe if you like what you're listening to. Check out our podcasts on Spotify and Apple Music if you just care about the audio. But if you want to watch our beautiful faces, go on to the YouTube. But yeah, one more thing, just check out our socials as well. Now that I'm back, we'll be cranking out more TikToks and stuff like that as well, shorts on YouTube. Anything else you want to mention before we go?
Yeah, pretty much just shadowing Memo's words. Thank you guys for the continued support. Viewing our podcasts and video content on YouTube, Spotify, and all our other platforms. If you guys enjoy our content, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. And we, now that we are back to our routine, we will certainly be coming up with a lot more bangers, and off season is slowly but surely going to be done before you know it, and then it will be preseason and then the regular season. um Anyhow, obviously now that the Olympics is done, we're kind of once again unfortunately in the dead stage of the off season. But we're going to make it interesting. We got some cool ideas that we got for you guys. So definitely stay tuned and look forward to that.
For sure, we're gonna be creative. Trust us. Trust us. Uh,
Sure.
but yeah, just trust the process. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it for us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.